We've already brought you the ultimate guide to turning your Sony a7 III into the ultimate cinema rig. Check out the button in the corner to go check that video out. But since then, we've upgraded to an actual cinema camera. This is our Sony FX6, and instead of building the rig, we're going to deconstruct this rig, and I'm going to show you piece by piece what we have on this camera and why we have it on there. What a better place to start than right in the back. This is a gigantic and super heavy V-mount battery. This thing lasts us nearly an all-day shoot, powering everything on this camera as well. We'll get into how it's plugged in as I take each piece off, but just know this is the most important part, and it's what brings everything together. Moving on, we're going to kind of slowly unplug things as we go. This is the Axoon CineEye 2S Pro. Again, we've done a video on this, an amazing device. Go check out the video that we've done on this device. But this is our wireless transmitter, so whether we're sending this to a phone, any wireless device, or to the receiver, which we have packed away right now because we're not obviously using it, this is what we use to send a feed out to us to pull focus, a client to watch what we're capturing if they can't be necessarily right there over our shoulder on that shot. And this is just such a great device to have on any kit, let alone just a Sony cinema kit. So what we're gonna do next is slowly take off everything that's powered by that V-mount battery. That Axoon CineEye is one device that's powered by the battery. This is another one. This is just my personal monitor. Justin and I will switch our monitors out. I use the AnyCine 4K. Any monitor here works. We have an HDMI and a power feed through to the camera. And I do want to point out real quick, I'm actually going to take a second to explain this for you guys. We have a pretty special situation here. So the reason we went with the CineEye 2S Pro is because it has SDI and HDMI. So the beautiful part about this is we can send the camera's HDMI out to a monitor that we have on top of the camera, or if we want to, just run a cable exterior to the camera. But we also have the SDI feed going into the CineEye 2S Pro, which is great because then we're not utilizing one or the other. We don't have to pick between one or the other. We can use both of them simultaneously with the Sony FX6, and they both work together flawlessly to make sure that we can see and document exactly what we need to do. An extra little accessory that I just want to make a mention of for that monitor is just a ball mount basically that you can hook up to your camera. We have the hot shoe on top of the FX6 handle that we throw it right into, and it's just a great way. This can rotate 360 any which way. We aren't really fans of the ones the little L brackets that come with most monitors these days. We just feel like they don't give you the full flexibility and compact size that something like this does. So just something worth looking into. Next up, because it's the biggest thing in the way, and really we've touched everything that is directly plugged into besides the camera itself from the V-mount battery, our microphone. We use either the Rode NG-G5 or this is the microphone that came with Justin's Sony FS5. We bounce back between the two. Whoever's got the camera kind of dictates what microphone we have on there, or if we're booming for a client shoot, we'll have that Sony microphone on the camera to get some better scratch audio just in case we need it to really fall back onto something, although it's really not ideal. Next up, we'll go to the matte box. We use just any real matte box here. I'm actually not sure what brand. Oh, this is a Tilta matte box. Justin bought this, but we used it for this camera. There was actually a moment where I saw one of our peers using a matte box, and the way he cut out the light reflection that was hitting the lens on set was just enough for me to say that we need this on our rig at all times, no matter what. And I know for a fact that it's helped us in the long run. Moving on, I want to talk about the plate that holds the V-mount. The beautiful thing and why I love how we did this is as follows. So this plug right here is what plugs in to the camera. I have it double-sided taped on the back, and then what happens is I can take the V-mount out, and what we've done and luckily been able to achieve is a completely hot swappable V-mount. So if the V-mount's running out, or we need to swap the V-mount or anything like that, I can pop this off, and what's going to happen is all of the stuff that the V-mount power is attached to, so all of these things along here, we have our monitor, we have our Axoon, there's a little switch here, we can turn this on or off, there's some USB ports here as well if we need to charge something off of, but basically this houses all of the connections. So I'm not using any of the connections on the V-mount battery itself, and it makes this so much easier to swap batteries in and out. go charge one, plop a new one on, turn all of your accessories back on, you're good to go. We do still have the camera battery in here, and even with the small battery, it still gets you about like 2 hours of time filming. So if it dies and you're really in a pinch, you still have time to go charge that V-mount battery, and you'll lose the accessories that I just took off the camera, but you're not going to lose the functionality of the camera itself. Moving on, we have this rail system. Now, I always forget that you have to unscrew these little things in front, but I'm gonna do my best to show this to you and make sure that I'm unplugging everything properly, and I am. So this is our rail system. I'll show you more about the tripod plate in a second, but this works out really nice. We've got that V-mount plate I was just talking about here. We can add to it. We'll add a follow focus if we need to do a follow focus. We can add a lens. They make, like, if your lens is really heavy, you can mount those on there. Wireless follow focus. Anything that we need, we can put on these rails, and it's just a really efficient solution. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take out the daisy chaining of cable that I have on this camera. So we've Velcro strapped. There's actually a little spot to slip a Velcro strap into on the top handle of the Sony FX6, which makes it super nice. But what is amazing about this is how easy it is for me to just go through, unplug literally everything from this camera, and then all I have to do is take out the cables, and as you'll see shortly, with the exception of the monitor that the camera comes with, all I really have to do for the most part is grab all these cables, make sure everything's unplugged, and you are left with all of the cables that plug everything that I just took off into the camera. Which leaves us with the camera itself. For the sake of not having a flathead screwdriver, I'm not going to take the tripod plate off, but I do want to make a mention to it. So we have a tripod plate that I can switch onto the tripod that I'm filming with right now, and then it has the rail system as well. We eventually might either break this out into an overhead rig or into a shoulder mount, which with that case, we might add another situation where we'll have a triple stack tripod plate mount, so we can have it either on the shoulder mount or with the rails or with nothing at all. So when you build out your rigs for any camera, this doesn't just apply to this, make sure that your functionality is set, and if you know how you shoot, make it so that you can very easily switch between methods of shooting. So for us, we can easily take this off the tripod, we still have the rails on, we can still rest the V-mount against our shoulder and get a little bit more stable of a shot, but really it makes it super easy for us to film, for us to switch between modes of filming. We can put this very simply onto a gimbal if we find to have a gimbal on set that fits the camera, and it just makes it super easy. But besides that, there really is not a whole lot to this camera that really has anything worth mentioning. The top handle of this FX6 is simply amazing. It's just very easily unscrewed. You don't need any utensils to unscrew it. I did forget to mention earlier, this is what we use to mount our Xsoon with. We find that it fits best over that V-mount battery. It's kind of out of the way. It's not in the way if you're holding it from the top handle, if you're holding it from the side handle. No matter which way you're working the camera, it's gonna work just fine for you in that position over that V-mount battery. Again, case-by-case basis, but that's how we found it to be the most useful and the most out of the way when we're shooting. We still have access to all the buttons and everything still works great. Next up is the handle. The handle from the camera, and these last few pieces are kind of just stuff that the camera comes with, so take it as you will. I'm getting to the point of breaking the whole thing down, so I might as well finish breaking the whole thing down. This handle is amazing. It's not on the camera, but you can pull this lever in and you can rotate it at any angle, so you can go very quickly from shooting the camera way up here to rotate it, and then you're shooting, more of an underhand shot. Really is great for stability, has a bunch of buttons on it, super great for functionality, and really of all the cinema cameras that I've used, this is the best handle utilization that I've seen in it. It makes it the most functional. And really, all that leaves is the lens. For the sake of example, I had the Tamron 28-75 on here, but with that, and including my laziness to go get a flathead screwdriver, this is the completely torn down Sony FX6. minus the battery, of course. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions on anything that we showed, or you want us to take a deeper dive in anything that we showed, let us know. Again, this is a little bit of a fun thing to reverse engineer a build, and I can very easily go through, and you'll see media on our socials, so go follow those, of me doing an overhead shot, as I'm gonna do probably right after I'm done filming this, to rebuild everything I just took apart, because as you can see, there's a lot to it, but everything makes sense, everything is very practical, everything has a very specific use on our rig, and I think if anything that you take away from this video, it is that lesson. Make sure that whatever you have on your rig, photography, videography, mirrorless camera, DSLR, GoPro, it makes sense to the method that you use and the style that you use to create your stories and your films. So let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Again, if you want anything dove deeper into, we will gladly do so. Let us know your thoughts, and until next time, take care, everybody.